Well, what's up, everybody?
What's up?
Welcome to another Victory Experience with
Yes.
Bishop John and Pastor Isha. We're your hosts today.
Yes, we are.
And I just say, if you're listening to this, you should be watching because you need to see what Pastor Isha looks like. She looks simply astonishing, colorful, beautiful, voluptuous.
I'm a reflection of you.
Fantastic. It's not about me, it's about you.
I'm a reflection
Just
of you.
gorgeous.
What people really don't know is that I always try to match you. Whatever you have on, I always ask you, what are you wearing today? And I always try to match you.
You try. Sometimes you go, I don't have that color. Switch it.
That's very rare.
It happens.
I'll make it work.
No, I have my stuff all laid out, ready to go, and you're like, no, switch that.
It's very rare.
I can't wear that
rare.
color.
It's very rare.
Switch it.
Very rare.
So, but most times you do.
Yeah.
Most times you do.
But don't let it be the opposite. Don't let it be that I want to wear a certain color.
Well,
and I want you to match.
The reason for that is because you're normally matching me. So matching, I'm never expecting to match you.
No, you give me a hard time when I ask you.
I'll say, what do you want to wear?
Pick out the color and you try to match.
No, here's the challenge.
Very hard.
You really don't know what you want to wear. So me laying the pathway helps you decide. Because most times you don't know what you're going to wear. I'll be standing there butt naked waiting forever.
I know, but I'm just saying. When you're not sitting there butt naked, I'm sad to think about.
We're sitting there waiting to get dressed. I'm waiting to get dressed. Just coming to America. Whatever you like.
No. What people don't know is that you're the diva of the family.
Listen.
You take more time to get ready than me. Yeah.
Greatness takes time. Greatness. All right, let's go.
All right, who are we? Who are we for those who do not know?
I said who we are. I said we're your host, Bishop John.
Okay.
Come on, are you listening? We're rolling. Come on.
Okay.
But we are your hosts, man. We have fun. This is fun. We always have fun. But we're excited to be here today. And if you're new, we're excited that you're with us. And maybe somebody referred you, and we want you to like and share now. Subscribe.
Share.
Subscribe.
Text somebody, tweet somebody, Instagram somebody.
But they need to
Snapchat
subscribe.
somebody, and subscribe.
Right. They need to subscribe.
Yeah.
So we want you to know.
But if they don't know, we're pastors of one of the best churches on the planet, Victory in Christ Christian Center, located in Westville, New Jersey, Deptford Township, 5 minutes across the Walt Whitman and Ben Franklin Bridge. So come check us out.
Oh, I thought you were going to run through all the bridges.
No, I ain't going to do that today.
But
I think if they know that we're 5 minutes across the the Walt Whitman and Ben Franklin, then they know approximately how far we are from the other ones.
How far away are we? Do you know?
20 minutes from Barry Commodore, maybe a half hour from the Delaware Memorial.
That's right. So very good. So come check us out. We'd love, and if you do, man, you've never been, come up and introduce yourself. We'd love to meet you. We really would love to meet you. Well, we're excited today. We're going to roll, man. This is good because this is part 2.
Yes.
This is part 2. Last week, we did 10 things to have a successful marriage, and we only got through 6 of them.
Yes, and for those, maybe this is your first time tuning in, we are also certified Christian counselors.
Yes.
So I think, like we said before, I think gives us a little credence on being able to talk about this, in addition to being married for it will be third in a couple months. 32 years.
32.
And together for 41.
Yes. We've been together a long time.
So we got a little bit something to say.
We do. We do. And, we help a lot of couples. We minister to a lot of people. And so, as I was saying, last week we released an episode, 10 things you have to do to have a successful marriage. But we only got through 6 of them because it's a lot of information.
It was great information.
It was really good.
I didn't expect it to... I thought we were going to get through it quickly, but
I didn't know if we were going to because you could take one and talk about one forever, But
that's true. One could be a topic by itself.
Yeah, you could. And so so if you didn't see that episode, go look at that. You might want to stop and go look at that now, and then come back to this one because it was really, really good. And so let's review. Let's kind of review because before we do that, one of the things I don't think people understand is having a successful marriage will never happen accidentally.
No, it's intentional.
It's intentional. It's intentional. So there's things that you have to do. And I think, people, why do you think before we dive back in, why do you think people just have this mindset about fairy tale marriage? They just think, man, we're going to get married and we're going to ride off in the sunset. We're going to have the house with the white picket fence and 2.5 kids and a dog with 6 legs, and we're just gonna, everything's gonna be great. Why? Where do people get that from?
I think from TV and social media. I think, that's what they show, but it's not realistic. Most of the stuff you see on social media and TV's not realistic. Unless you're watching a drama show and you're watching the drama's realistic. Some of these dramatic shows, the drama is realistic. And actually, I like those shows. I like the dramatic shows because I like to see the couples that really take the principles that they should, and do they apply the principles they should, and which ones don't do it?
Right.
I'm always curious to see who does it.
Yeah, but that's more realistic.
But they're going to show a lot of the drama for the ones who don't do what they're supposed to do.
And that's more realistic than the fairy tale stuff, because people they have this fairy tale. People, they plan for a wedding day, but they don't plan for a marriage. And they don't realize you're not going to have a great marriage accidentally or doing nothing, twiddling your thumbs. It's very intentional.
And I think too, and I don't remember if we said this before, but I think when you're dating somebody, you're very intentional when you're dating. In courting that person and wanting to be with that person and what you do and what you say.
Right.
But I think sometimes after we get married, then we kind of slack off because you feel like you've obtained that person already. You don't need to do as much as you did.
The hunt is over.
But for the woman, there's no hunt.
Right.
You feel like, okay,
being hunted.
I already got him, so he ain't going nowhere for the most part. Though, depending on what type of marriage you have, the person could go somewhere.
Right.
But you always want to make yourself, too attractive.
Which you do. You do.
I try to sometimes.
You do. No, for the most part,
I don't wear the granny gowns no more.
No, thank God. Thank God.
I wear Soma pajamas.
You wear what?
I like Soma pajamas.
Soma
pajamas.
We should get an advertisement endorsement from them.
But I think they're more for me than they are for you.
When you get a different season.
I just like them because they're soft.
When you get a different season, man, you're not sleeping for a sexiness, you sleep for comfort. So man,
but there's always a time. You want a time and a place, for that.
But no, you do. You keep yourself looking real good. You looking real good right now, Mama. About to come across this podcast table and just cut.
Sometimes after you've been married for a while, I think sometimes women can feel like I can look like a hot mess and still look great to you.
Yes.
Especially when it's been a long time.
Yes, that is not this type of podcast. What are you doing?
You be like, you be trying to make
yourself
breathe.
Look at you.
And you still.
She breathing.
How is it that you really think I'm attractive right now?
I'm bringing the yawning back.
All right, let's keep it moving.
So, all right, let's dive in. So let's kind of review, okay? I hope y'all are still with us. We acting like y'all not here. It's just us. But let's go in, because, again, what we covered, the first 6 are important because they play a part in having a successful marriage. And if you're not married and you want to be married, you really need to listen up, because these are things that in our 32 years of marriage and 41 years of being together, these are things that we've had to do. And any other couple that has a successful marriage would absolutely endorse these. Now, we're not saying this is an all-inclusive list, but it's a good list that'll help you. So let's review. Let's cover. The 6 that we covered.
Okay, the first thing we talked about, that happiness is not the most important thing.
We're not. We might say a little bit. We're not going to go in depth, but as we're just saying, if you are caught up in your emotions, I just want to be happy. You can't do that, and because that's not the most important thing in a marriage.
Like we said, there's times for it. There's times that you want to be intentional about it, but other things are more important in a marriage than happiness. You want to be happy in a marriage, but that's not the primary.
You're not going to be happy all the time.
It's not going to happen all the time.
Right.
So there's other things that are more important. And then number 2, we said a couple in a successful marriage discovers the value in just showing up.
Yes, and that's important,
so
that you're there.
Yes.
You're there, just showing up, you're there. Like just recently, man, I was having issues with a tendon in my arm, and I could barely take my shirt off, and you were just helping me. You were there walking me through, helping me. You were just, there watching me be in pain, but you were there. And I think
but it was like just making sure that the person knows you're there if you need them.
Yes.
Like even in the middle of the night when you wake up to go to bathroom, being concerned. Are you okay?
Right.
Do you need anything?
Right.
Even if you can't do something, just knowing that your presence is there.
Correct.
And that you're there for them.
So that's good. Number 3, and again, these are just review because we spend time in depth on these, and we don't want to lose the time.
If you do what you always do, you will get the same results.
I don't know why people don't get that. You keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same result. And if you're going to have a successful marriage, I think we talked about people change every 7 to 10 years.
Change is important.
Yeah, so you gotta be able to bob and weave on it. All right, what's the next one?
Your attitude does matter to.
Yes. Your attitude affects your altitude. And so your attitude does matter. You got a stank attitude, you're not going to go far at all. So ask yourself, is my attitude stank? It might be stank, and you got to change that. All right, next one.
Change your mind, you'll change your marriage.
The Bible talks about as a person thinks in their heart, which is the word soul, your mind, your will, your emotions, your intellect, so are you. So, if you're going to change your marriage, you got to change your thinking. And we've seen really bad marital situations come back. So people may say, well, my marriage is just bad. There's no point of return. That's not true. We've seen couples, more than a few, their marriages are really bad. And their marriage today is awesome. There's couples who their marriage is fantastic. It's nothing like it was. And it's the same two people. They just changed how they were thinking.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, and then the next one,
and then
the last one we covered.
Last but not least of what we talked about in part 1 was the grass is greenest where you water it.
So we balance this out.
It's not the grass is greener on the other side.
The grass appears to be greener.
The grass is greenest where you water it.
But the grass does appear to be green on the other side. I think that's a humanistic thing.
It appears.
It appears to be. It's not. It appears because every marriage has weeds. Every marriage has issues. But sometimes we're like, if my spouse would just be like this person, or if my spouse would be like Pastor Isha, but you don't understand the weeds that Pastor Isha has.
But the thing is that we don't want to nurture our own grass. We
and get the weeds
out
of our own marriage.
Our own grass or take care of it. We think it's going to take care of itself.
It's not, right. It's not. It's going to burn up under the elements of life. Like grass burns up under the heat without being watered in the summer. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. But people look at, they'll look at you and I and go, well, I wish my spouse was like Bishop or like Pastor Aisha, but they don't understand. The weeds on this side could be worse than the weeds you got.
Yeah.
If you would just water
and cultivate it.
Yes, water and cultivate it and take care of it. Give it some nutrient.
Yes.
Then it would be different than it is. And I think with you and I, we work hard on watering our own grass. We work hard.
And I think that's the key. Marriage takes work.
It does.
It takes work. It's
not for the lazy.
And when I say work, it's effort.
It's
you can't
effort.
expect just to sit back and to think things are going to happen effortlessly in a marriage. You got to take time to work on your marriage, work on yourself, and to work for your marriage to be all that.
That would be like,
God
you come across somebody, they're real skinny, and they go, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. How many times you work out? Oh, no, I'm just waiting for my muscles to come. I'm just waiting for my muscles to come. Well, you don't got to be a rocket scientist to know that's never going to happen.
I don't think people look at it like that, though.
I know, but
that is a great analogy.
Yeah.
That is a great analogy because I really do think that some people in marriage, they just sit back and they think they have this automation of what they think should be happening in their marriage.
That's just going to happen.
Not thinking that there's something that they should be doing on both their parts, or they're waiting for the other person to do before they do. Versus both of us doing our part.
And so it's not going to happen waiting. But that leads us, because what you just said, they're waiting for the other person to do their part. It does take us. Let's hit it. Let's go now, because let's see if we can get these in, because the people showed up for these. So let's go.
Number 7, you can change your marriage by changing yourself.
This is what people don't get. They don't get. But any couples that have been married any length of time will tell you, man, you can't change anybody else. You got to work on you.
You got to work on. I think that was the number one thing that we learned in counseling, that hurt people will hurt people.
Yes.
But healed people will heal people. So you got to work on changing yourself focusing on trying to change somebody
else. Yes.
But when you focus on yourself and changing yourself, then the other person has no really choice but to look at themselves and where they're possibly falling short and changing themselves in the process.
Yeah, that's like, so you go through seasons where you're not working out and then your spouse starts working out. They're working out and then you start analyzing yourself, or somebody's trying to eat better. You start analyzing yourself. But people, I think all the time, they're looking for their spouse to change. If you would only change, if you would do this, if you would do that, but you can't make them change.
Yeah.
So I got to work on me. It should be flipped around and, hey, what helps me to be the best version of me? Or even if you really want to be stretched, asking your spouse, what can I do to be a better spouse to you? What can I do to be a better husband, better wife to you? Really understanding, when you're talking like that, you understand that you change your marriage by changing yourself. We've dealt with couples this way. You got to look at, if you have problems in your marriage, if I change, the marriage will be better. If I change. But we're so good, people are so good at pointing the other finger. How many times have couples down through the years of counseling we've done, come into our office, made an appointment for us, and one spouse wants to sit there and just talk about how bad the other spouse is. They're not doing this, they're not doing that. And we only let that go but so far and go, hey, wait. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but what about you? Where do you need to change? Because nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. So I know with you and I, not that we don't go after each other. Well, hey, you need to do this and that. But behind all of that, there's a limit to that, because we really know we both got issues, number one, but I got to work on me. Instead of me trying to tell you where you need to change, I need to work on me. And if I work on me, it comes off to the other person. Hey, I'm really trying to work on me.
Well, it goes back to, again, hurt people, healed people, heal people.
Yeah.
But changed people will help change other people in the process.
Yeah.
So again, we can't just keep the focus on the other person, but focus on ourselves, because we got to remember too that we're doing our role and responsibility as a husband, as a wife, or in our relationships unto God first, not because of what the other person is or isn't doing. Because if we focus on that, you got to believe that the enemy is going to try to come in and try to get that other person to not do what they should do, so that you won't do what you're supposed to do. So that can't be your focus. Your focus has got to be on pleasing God and doing what you should do regardless of how you feel, because of a commitment that you made unto God first.
Yes. That's like, I think a few weeks ago, last week or the week before, it was just recent, you and I got in an argument because you said something.
Is that when we got into bed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say tell them where it was. I'm just saying.
Well, we were getting ready for bed.
Yeah, and we got into this argument.
Ready for bed.
As we're getting in bed. We got into this argument. I mean, it was. I think people look at us, think we don't argue. They think we don't argue, and even though we tell them, we argue all the time. But we're arguing. And then we went to bed. I mean, we weren't fussing. We were just going back and forth. And then when we got up, I apologized to you. I said, you know what? I said, I was thinking about what you said, and I said, you were right. And I said, how I handled it was wrong. Meaning I was defensive from the door versus there was no reason to be defensive. You were just saying something, but I got defensive. Now, I can flip that around and go, what you said caused me to get defensive, but I didn't have to get defensive. And what you said, there wasn't even no need to get defensive. I just got defensive, but it was about me. And now I could have held that in and just been like, because there wasn't any tension between us. We weren't, I love the fact, older we get, we don't let that happen. We kind of deal with something, but it was important for me to let you know, hey, you were right, and how I handled that was wrong. That was wrong, and I didn't, I could have handled that differently, because it was about me working on me. I mean, I could have just focused on you. Well, she didn't have to say that when we were getting in bed, or how she said it, and none of that had nothing to do with anything.
And I think, like, even with that, even how I handled myself, I was a little perturbed at the time at first, but then, it's one of the things that I always talk about. We have a responsibility to speak the truth, but to speak it in love in a way that builds up and doesn't tear down, because we want the other person we're talking to be able to really internalize what it is that we're saying, so hopefully they can receive it. And at that point, we got to give it to God and not get an attitude because they maybe don't hear us or are receiving us. Even though I think you might kind of got an attitude at the moment thinking, well, it's not your way all the time, or it doesn't have to be. I'm like, okay, it doesn't have to be. I'm not saying it has to be my way. Yeah. But I was able to leave it there and say, okay, and not get an attitude, not say, well, I'm sleeping in the other room or, whatever, because people go there.
Right.
Or like, well, I ain't talking to you no more.
Right. All that wasted emotion, man.
At that point, I did my what I needed to do in bringing it to you and speaking the truth in love. Right. And at that point, give it to God. Right. And I think a lot of people need to learn how to do that and not get so attached to something that you react versus respond to a situation.
Right. And so, so it was just, we go through stuff too. And, it was about, I think when you focus on yourself, man, it helps so many ways on so many levels. Just focusing on you, understanding that the only person you can change in your marriage is you. Mm-hmm. And it should be the only person you want to change. It's the only person you want to change is me. Because if I authentically, organically, consistently change me, it'll affect my spouse in a positive way.
And it was interesting because I didn't expect for you to come back and say anything that you were, not that you, wrong.
No, but how I handled it was wrong. How I handled it was wrong.
I didn't expect that, but because I think of how I did handle it, it did allow you to do self-inspection. Like it goes back to change people. Change people when you focus on yourself and changing.
And I think the key here is, because again, we're doing this podcast, man, people love the material we drop and teach, but no marriage is exempt from issues. Mm-mm. Every great marriage has had, does have, and will have issues that you overcome. It's how you handle it. It's not the issues that are the issues. It's how you handle the issues outside of something crazy.
If you handle the issues the right way, they will make your relationship stronger 100%. In the end.
100%. Yes. Very good. All right, let's hit the next one.
Number 8. Love is a verb, not just a feeling.
And it's not even...
This is one of my favorites, actually.
Yes. And
love is a verb.
Love is, it's really not a feeling. It's a feeling, but it's not about the feeling. Because feelings are fickle. Mm-hmm. Feelings are fading. Feelings go away. You get married and initially you're on a honeymoon stage. It's awesome. It's wonderful. But all of those feelings are going to fluctuate and go by the wayside. And when you're at the altar and you're making this commitment, it has nothing to do with the feeling. That commitment, for better, for worse, richer, poor, sickness, and health, till death do us part. None of that has anything to do with feeling. Mm-hmm. None of it, because in some of those things, in sickness, you're not going to feel. In bad times, you're not going to feel. Right? None of that. It's an action.
Well, I think it goes back to a question you had asked earlier. Why do people feel the way they do about one? What was that question about? And I told you
why do people have this fantasy mindset?
Yeah. I think they have this fantasy mindset because, again, they're looking at these people on TV or social media and they get caught up in what they're feeling at the moment.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so in love with you, and they're focused on that feeling versus whether or not they, whether they're really loving one another, as we just talked about love being a verb, because we connotate love in the world as a feeling.
Yes.
But God never talks about love being a feeling in the Word of God.
Right.
And I think that's where we get messed up sometimes. We focus on what the world's definition of something is versus finding out what does God say something is. And throughout the Bible, you will always see whenever God talks about love in any form or fashion, he never talks about it as a feeling.
Right.
He always talks about it being action, which is a verb.
Yeah.
Love is patient. Love is kind.
Yes.
Love is long-suffering. Love doesn't keep a record of wrongs.
Right. Love hopes the best.
Love
believes
hopes
for the best. Yeah.
God so loved the world that he what?
He gave.
He gave
Yes.
his only begotten son.
Yes.
He always talks about love in a giving form,
Yes.
not a feeling form. That doesn't mean that usually when you do something for somebody else, the feeling will follow. But we want to feel something first in the world before we actually do it. So it's a perverted mindset.
It's such a perverted mindset. And again, TV, social media, it all promotes that. It promotes this whole feeling. And feelings aren't bad.
But feelings are fickle.
Right.
Though.
God gives us feelings. So we're not saying feelings are bad. And it's great when you feel good about your spouse. Like, man, I love you. I love me some you.
Yeah, but there's sometimes you ain't feeling me. Sometimes you don't love me. And it's your commitment to God.
Right. There's times I'm not having that feeling of love.
Yes.
I'm having that feeling, of love. But I love you by what I do. In spite of how I feel.
That's how I really know you love me. That's how I really know that you love me.
Yeah.
I know that when I have ticked you off or said something or did something, and you still show me love when I know you ain't feeling me.
Yes.
That's how I know you
when
really
I'm like, God,
love
for the
me.
love of Jesus.
No, and it goes vice versa.
Yes.
Vice versa.
Right. That is that it's not 50-50, it's 100-100.
When you can go and kiss somebody and love somebody and still treat them well despite what they just said to you or did to you.
You know what I'm thinking about? If you can only be in it when you're feeling it, that's shallow.
That is shallow.
That's shallow.
That means you got a shallow relationship.
Yeah. But when I'm in it with you, when I'm not feeling you, when you've had a dumb day, because that doesn't mean you're dumb. You had a dumb day. I'm in it.
But that's called unconditional love.
There it is.
Unconditional love.
It's and that's what people don't understand is that's what is part of what makes a successful marriage.
Yeah.
It is this unconditional love that I recognize feeling and the place it's supposed to be in.
Yeah.
Like you and I just went to New York, man, and hung out, and that was great. There was feelings. That was great. But then we can argue. We can argue, and you're not feeling it. But that Tina Turner said it. What's love got to do with it? Got to do with it. Love is nothing but a
second-hand emotion.
Second-hand emotion. Come on, Tina. And so and so so you got to understand love is a verb. All right, let's finish up. What's the next one?
Number 9. Marriage is often about fighting the battle between your ears.
That is so true. That is so true. That man, our spouse says something and we can go in left field.
Yes.
We can go in left field. We can feel the person who I'm most vulnerable to on this planet is you.
Yeah.
Other people can say stuff and I'm like, whatever. But you can say something and it can cut me down to the core.
Yeah.
And your mind starts racing.
Yeah.
Your mind starts racing, man, and it's amazing. You could be thinking things and the person never knows you're thinking it. Mm-hmm. And so it's, marriage is often this fighting the battle between your ears. The Bible talks about casting down vain imaginations and every high thing that exalts itself, because the devil doesn't take off because you're having a bad moment.
Yeah.
He comes after you, and you could people turn around and make these emotional decisions with major consequences, all because they're holding on to stuff.
Yeah.
Listen to me. If you're watching and listening to this, you can't afford to allow your emotions to drive you.
Yeah.
You can't afford your spouse to say, how many people we've counseled that they had an affair because they were feeling some type of way concerning their spouse. They stepped off and had an affair, and then you're in it, and now you done totally changed the course of your relationship out of emotion. And it happens to everybody. It happens to everybody. Your spouse says something and you're feeling some type of way. And a successful marriage knows how to, communicate. Instead of holding it in, sharing how I feel. Go, hey, when you said this, you hurt me. We do this exercise. We give couples on this this conference table that forces communication. Forces communication. Because it is. Down through the years, I don't know about you. I probably would say you did because you live with me. But I've had to fight back stuff a lot. Like, I know there's times I've worked your last nerve. I can see the battle.
But I think, we got to focus on more than what the person is saying, is trying to get behind why they're saying what they're saying.
Yes.
They're saying what they're saying for a reason, and you want to focus on trying to resolve the issue behind what they're saying versus what they're saying.
Right.
Like, many times we can get into a conversation like, you always do A, B, C, and D.
Or you never do this.
Or you never.
Yeah.
And then we get so focused on, you always do.
Right.
Or you never do.
Right.
And then we start having an argument about the always or the never, and that's not even the
That's a rabbit
issue.
hole.
You're saying that to bring emphasis to the situation. That person is feeling for some reason that this is a problem in the relationship.
Yes.
That, they feel like this happens more than it should.
Right.
That's what they're really trying to emphasize. So let's focus on that particular thing that you're bringing to the table versus always doing it.
Right.
And I think that's why you can't get so caught up. You got to fight that battle between their ears. They're attacking me. They may not be attacking you. They just want to bring about change in the relationship. So you have to really focus and not hold a grudge, constantly bring up the past, but focus on the present, where you are now, and resolving things issue by issue, so that the past doesn't always have to come back up either.
Right, no, that's
which is why the Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath.
Yes.
So that you can handle each issue as it comes as well.
You know, and in spite of, in my mind, you are perfect. You are perfect.
No.
In my mind, you are God's greatest creation, an angelic creature. But the reality is, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We don't marry a perfect person.
God says he'll be perfecting us until the day Jesus Christ comes.
Yes.
Returns.
Yes.
And I think that's an issue, though, even as well. I think we sometimes get into these relationships and we have all these different little check marks of what we expect this other person to be like versus what are the most important things that we need to look for in a spouse, because they're not going to be perfect all the time. Like I said before, they may leave their drawers on the floor.
Which I don't. She's not talking about me. I don't. My son Christian Alexander Edmondson does it, not me.
Keep the refrigerator open.
Christian Alexander Edmondson.
No, I did that last night. Remember?
No, that was a devil. That wasn't you. That was a devil.
Room and you left the fridge open, and I said, "Oh, I apologize."
See, I realized I was blaming the wrong person. I've been thinking down through the years that was Christian. But he's not in the house anymore. So I'm like, it was only one person to blame that was there. But we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. And you got to get that. Your spouse isn't going to check all the boxes. They're not going to do all the right things.
And also, when you're talking about fighting the battle between your ears, again, too, our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places.
Yes.
And the enemy will come in and try to say so many different things when your spouse or people you're in relationship with, oh, they did this because of A, B, C, and D, or whatever.
They meant to do that.
Yeah, or meant to do that versus having a conversation with them. And asking, what happened versus us then assuming.
And we've said, because that's so true, the older you get in marriage, the longer you've been married, the older you get, you start thinking in terms of energy and just quality of life. Like, it makes no sense to me at this stage of my life for us to argue and not be talking to each other. Like, that's idiotic. And not enjoy life, to walk past you. And I remember being younger doing that, to walk past you and not talk to you or not say good morning or I love you. Like, that is just such a waste of, and life's too short. What the pandemic showed us is life is too short. Maximize, each other. So you got to.
But if you don't do that, then that will take you to what our next one
is. Which is the last one for today. What's the last one?
The crisis doesn't mean that the marriage is over.
Right, because we've had a whole bunch of them. We've had, in 32 years, we've had various crises. Crisis, man, it doesn't. Crises are like storms. They're temporary. They be, you ever see a loud thunderstorm where it's like bang, bang, where it's just pouring down. Yeah, but what you don't quit with a storm, or like turbulence. You're in an airplane, turbulence, and the plane starts rocking. You don't go, let me out, pull over, let me out. You got to buckle up and ride it out.
No.
You know, and so just because you have a crisis, you have an issue, doesn't mean the marriage is over.
No,
it's an opportunity for the marriage to get better.
Yeah, because in fact, out of pain, that's where great not only great people, but great marriages are produced.
That's our marriage.
And I really feel that when people ask me, you know, do I love you the same that I did when we got married? I say, no, I love you even more.
Right.
And what causes me to love you even more is not the good times.
Yeah.
But it's working through those crisis situations.
Yes.
And seeing that you still got my back.
Yes.
Seeing that we were able to work through those things and still be there with one another. Mm-hmm. That's what makes our marriage great, even greater. It's what makes us even better people, because we learn more about ourselves.
Yes.
We learn about our weaknesses. We learn about our strengths, because we always say, you want to find out how spiritually mature you are or spiritually immature you are?
Yes.
Get married, because you're going to find out your weaknesses and your strengths and where you need to work on them to not only make you a better person, but make your relationship better in the process.
Our marriage is a product of us being committed to go through. And one of the things I love is all the stuff we went through, it's equipped us to be relatable to people and help other people.
Amen.
Because if we went through it and got through it, we can show others how to do it too.
Yes.
So these are some things, man, that are just awesome. These are 10 things between last episode and this one of things that you can really look at and go, am I doing these? Am I not doing these? We promise you this. If you do these 10 things, your marriage is going to be well on its way to success and be an example for other marriages.
I think these are great topics. You could, like, if you have a date night or whatever, you're at dinner. Take one topic and discuss it with your spouse or the person you're in a relationship with. Talk about, what do you think about it? How do you think we're doing? What areas do you think, or what from that particular topic that we need to work on?
Don't say we have nothing to talk about. We gave you 10 topics. You got 10 topics. You could talk about these once a week. You got 10 weeks of material.
Well,
you can do one a week, one every other, whatever the case is. So very good.
You know, I love stuff like that.
Yeah, this is great.
Just
so
us talking about stuff like that on our
we do this. So and we do it, and we're doing a podcast.
But that's
you
what
need
helps
to do it.
Keep our marriage strong.
Absolutely. So very good, man. Well, this has been found just great on so many different levels. We're out of time. We're over time. We got to go. But we hope you enjoyed this today. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe right now. We'd love for you to subscribe and then share it. Share it with other people, because I think you would 100% agree that what you heard today, so many others need to hear. And we drop content like this all the time. Marriage content, other topical content. So we'd love for you to help us get the word out. All right, we got to go. Until next time, we'll see you then on the what? The Victory Experience.